Hello my beautiful friends and welcome back to my channel. This is Nova Gnome Creations and I'm Nova and I am so glad you decided to join me today. Today I am just working on doing a little bit of detail work for my ugly Christmas sweaters for a baby and a toddler that I'm working on. This is the piece I am currently working on. If you remembered that this square is in the 3D Granny Square book, and I talked about possibly making one of these for the back. So I thought I would take you guys along while I work on a little bit of detail work today, and we can just kind of hang out and chill. Okay, so I started working on some appliques and stuff for the sweaters. So what I've done so far is I made up some little like ball shapes. And these are going to be snowmen. And they're a little bit different. I made one a little bit bigger than the other one. So here's what these look like. And then I'm going to embroider faces on them. And then I'm going to pull out those little like Christmas kit things I showed you guys that I found on Amazon. And get like the little scarves out of them and maybe little hats or something. We'll have to see. But I've got these made up. And then I'm working on that granny square that I showed you guys from the 3D Granny Square book, that elf one, except for that instead of making it into the full granny square, I'm actually only doing the like face part of it. So I've got this part done and I've got the ears done. So these will go like this, and then I've got to make a hat for it. But I'm going to go ahead and stop and embroider a face onto here. And I thought you guys could come along for embroidering the face on. So far I'm working with scrap yarn. So this was Red Heart Super Saver in a white color. But this is just this color. And I'm pretty sure that this came with my knitting machine. And it's just a scrap yarn. And then I just dug out a little bit of black scrap yarn. And I'm going to go ahead and use this to embroider on details. So, well, it'll be for the eyes, which is really a very small part of the face. And I do not need this whole length for this, so let's pull out like a reasonable, but still extra long length and cut that. And then I'm gonna thread my darning needle. I'm using a bent tip darning needle because that's my favorite. Ever since I tried it, I've been hooked. So I'm gonna try to decide which way I want this to face. I think I'll do it like this with like the seam area where my rose joined at the bottom, because a little bit of that will end up covered up by the bow. I think like one row will end up covered up by the bow. At the top, one row ends up covered by the hat though. So either way would work really. I don't know why, but I'm feeling like I want it this way. Okay, so I've got my black threaded onto my darning needle. And then I also found a scrap of red yarn for the mouth. So we're getting scrappy up in here. So I'm going to do little dot eyes. And it looks like they're really close to this line. Let's see. Actually, no, it looks like they're... you know what? I'm just going to do them where I want to do them. So I'm going to do mine right here. So I'm actually going to pop up from underneath the bottom. A little bit higher up than that. Make sure I keep this straight in the middle. Let's say like right there. And then I'm gonna make sure I avoid tucking this long tail that I left on my head up in here, because I actually did that when I was sewing the nose on and then I had to pick it out and it was a pain in the booty. So let's see. I'm gonna do, oops, gonna do just a little loop. So I've got like a little loop on there. And then I'm going to pop back up through, making sure I don't come up in the exact same spot, or I'll just undo what I did. But I'm kind of going in between the fibers of the yarn. And I'm going to pop back up through. And then I'm going to actually go through this. And then I'll pull it. And that'll give me a little bit of a more defined eye. And then I'll just go back down through on the other side. Like so. And there's a little beady eye, which is how they have it in the picture for this. So now I'm just gonna do the other side with a little beady eye. So here is the center of the bottom, trying to keep that straight. So I think I'll do my other little beady eye right about here. Then I'm just going to do the same thing I did before. I want to make sure I have that at the right height. I'm going to do the same thing I did before, and I'm just going to poke through to put it back, to pull it back to the other side, but I'm going to leave a little loop. And then I'm going to pop up through the fibers. Sorry about my dog. Tataru, come here. And then I'm going to pull through the loop. And then I will go ahead and give this a little tug. And then I can go ahead and thread this back through to the back. And there we have two little beady eyes for our little elf. So I'm going to go ahead and tie off and get her to stop barking. I will be right back. Okay, so I've got my yarn tied off. I just threaded it back over and did a little knot with the beginning yarn. I actually triple knotted it, and I don't care what the back looks like because this isn't going to show. And I went ahead and got a reasonable length from my red scrap and threaded it onto my darning needle. So now I'm just going to make a little smile. So I'm going to pop up where I want my where I want my smile to start. And I'm going to try to get in between the threads a little bit just to give it a good anchor point. And I'm going to leave a little bit of a tail. I think about right there should be good. And then I'm just going to go a little interval and do that. And then I'm going to pop back up a little bit further back, and I'm going to come right up through the red fiber, watching to make sure I don't accidentally loop this tail in to my yarn as I pull. And then this time I'm going to go a little bit further. And I'm just going to continue to do that, going in intervals, working a little bit, and then doubling back and coming up through some of the yarn that I already have, and then continuing. And I'm just going to give it like a gentle tug, not too tight. I don't want to warp it, but I also don't want the threads to be loose. And I'm just kind of following the line of the end of the round that is here. You can see there's a round that ends right here. So I'm just kind of following that, and that's going to give me a nice smile shape. The key with doing it like this is to not try to make your gaps too big. The closer together you do them, the more detailed your shape will come out. And I'm thinking about right here should be about an even smile. That looks awesome. And I'm going to double back and go through here just because I want it to look the same. Even though I don't need to make my smile any bigger. And then I'm just going to go right back through the same spot. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and tie off, and this is nicely secured here. And here's what it looks like on the back. So I found some orange scrap yarn, and I'm just pulling out a magic circle that I had apparently done at some point and then stuck in my scrap yarn bag. There we go. Cut that down to a more reasonable length. And then I'm going to be doing some snowman faces. So I'm going to be working with these two smaller circles. And the bottom of these is going to be, there's a side that is slightly more flat, and that's where I ended my rounds. So that's going to be where my bottom goes, because then for the bottoms, I'm going to look for the flatter side, which I think is this side, and then I'll line up the two flatter sides, and then you won't even notice them. They're not really that noticeable to begin with, but this one's a little bit more noticeable. But anyways, let's go ahead and do some snowman faces. So I think I'll start with the noses first, because the noses are going to go like in the middle of the face, and that's going to give me a center so that I hopefully don't make it super wonky. The nice thing is it's a snowman, so if it comes out wonky, it's really not that big of a deal. I mean, snowmen are pretty wonky. So I've never embroidered a nose that is shaped like a carrot before, so this will be fun. Nah, I don't want to go up right in the middle. I'm like, I can just go up through the middle. This is like tightly crocheted because I used a slightly smaller hook than called for. I used a 4.25, so this is pretty tightly. Also, white just seems to be a thick color. So I'm just trying this out. Might take a little bit of trial and error, but I'm going to... My yarn is a little crimpy from being in a magic circle in here. So I popped up through here, and then I went up to like the width I want the nose to be, and then I did that. And then I think I'm gonna pop up right here where I want the tip of the nose to be, and do my best not to tangle up this tail back here. Don't want to pull this too tight yet because I'm going to go under here. And use it to start to form my nose shape. And then now I'm just going to give a little tug on my starting strand and a little tug on there. I'm going to go ahead and, since I went under this strand, I'm going to go over it, go right back to the same spot at the point. Make sure I don't pull too tightly on that. And then I'm going to pop back up through this side, keeping an eye out for this tail. And go back down through that same point. Coming in through this bottom right hand corner. I want to make the bottom a little bit thicker than just like the same thickness all the way through. So I'm doing a shorter run, shorter thread. Now I'm just working my way along that bottom line. So I'm totally just making this up as I go along, as I always do when I do embroidering, because I don't know how to embroider in a proper fashion. So hopefully it comes out. I think it's looking decent-ish. Alright, I think I'm pretty happy with that. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to try to make this line look a little bit cleaner at the bottom. Because you see how it's kind of jagged looking since it's got the where I went in and out all the way down here. So I'm going to try to cover that up, make it look a little bit neater. And I'm going to do the same thing. Went a little too low there. Need to kind of pop up in the same spot. I'm going to do the same thing here at the edge. Alright, and then I'm going to go ahead and tie off for this one. I think I will not do both on camera so it doesn't take a million years, but I'm going to do another face too. But this is just what I'm working on today, is some detail work. So working on making some little appliques, embroidering things, you know, making all my little details so that I can uglify. And I'll come back probably tomorrow, but if not tomorrow, definitely at some point this week, to assemble the sweater with you guys, because I think that that'll be really fun. There we go. I'm pretty happy with that. Let me focus you. I'm pretty happy with that. You know, kind of a curved carrot. For the first time I've ever done one, I'm pretty happy with it. It could be worse. So I'm just going to go ahead and do a little mouth and eyes. Going to go ahead and do the next one of these. I'm going to work on the hat and bow for this. So I will be showing you guys all of my little finished details and coming back to put together the sweater here pretty soon. So I hope everybody is having a wonderful day. I hope you guys are getting some good crochet time in, and that you enjoyed hanging out with me while I worked on the details a little bit here. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye, guys!